Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and firstly, my sincere gratitude to PRCI and to Deepthi Sethi for inviting me to address the audience here today. Of course, the hostess has said such words about me that now I don't know what to say, because the expectations have been set very high. And having just retired from the corporate world, I thought expectations will be lower now, but it doesn't seem to end. What is it that I want to talk about? This is really preaching to the converted, the criticality of reputation. And the criticality of reputation is a little bit like prayer. And I'm very fond of the dohas of Kabir. And Kabir, 600 years ago, said a doha that rings true about reputation management. दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे न कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे, दुख काहे को होय. We always think that trust, that purpose, that values, that heritage, that reputation do not matter. They can be glossed over, they can be polished, you can have a spin story around it. Unfortunately, reputation is what you live with. All of us have a reputation. And we don't look at our corporations and our businesses as reputation. And therefore, here is a picture of a ship which is all at sea. This was a stable, seafaring ship that went in the right direction. Everything was going right, the numbers were clicking, the CEO was getting bonuses, was getting covered by all the magazines and all the news channels, was being called a hero, was being called the greatest leader that ever lived. And suddenly, crisis comes without a calling card. And when that happens, what does a leader do? This is almost like what happens to a strapping young youth, and I don't mean to pass any judgments here. At the age of 30, he is on a treadmill and suddenly drops down with a heart attack. It can happen. Anything can happen. In this day and age, in fact, if there is one element that you need to stick to as a corporation, it is reputation. And the Reputation Institute has said that 60% of purchases made by consumers is because of the reputation of the company. And lo and behold, recovery processes are faster in at least 50% of the cases if reputation is strong. So what I propose doing here in the next couple of minutes is to share with you actual stories. You talked here about storytelling, that was what was the purpose here. I'm not a public relations expert, but I've been a little bit of an albatross. I either fall into a crisis or I create a crisis. That's my corporate. Now I just hope that once I've retired now from the company, no more crisis will come my way, at least of the corporate kind. So the crises that have come to me have always been on late night telephone calls. There was a late night telephone call transferring me from Singapore, where I was the head of the Nestlé business, to Egypt, which was peaceful, sedate, calm. The Nile was flowing in the same direction. The dust on the sands on the pyramids had not fallen. And I got a call that please go there and become the chairman of North Africa. So I said, why at this age should I be a chairman of North Africa? He said, normally it's a retirement posting, you still have some years, but please go there. I go there in October of 2010, January 25th, 2011, Arab Spring starts. So I call up my boss and I tell him, why the hell have you put me in this place? And he was a European who had started his career in India. And he said, take a look at your horoscope. There is something in it that says that you have to live through a crisis. That was a crisis of a different kind. It was an Arab Spring. It happened to everybody. But here was an Indian leading a group of multinational management team, employees who were completely Arabic speaking, in a country where I didn't know a word of Arabic and where I had just about figured out the way from my office to the home and back. So what do you do at that time? A few principles that worked for me, and these are not necessarily PR principles, but leadership principles. And if there is one thing that I am passionate about is about leadership development and the call of destiny and how people respond to crises. If there is one paucity today, with Gaza flaring up, with the war in Ukraine and with numerous geopolitical issues, it is leadership. And leadership somehow believes that staying away from people is the panacea to remain isolated and to blame somebody else. But at that point in time, I chose to be with my people. Every multinational evacuated their people, chartered flights were taken, people were belting out of the country. Yours truly decided with his management team to stay on. And some days later, when the factories began, they began because of the people. So staying close to the people means a leader never leaves. In a crisis, a leader takes the shots if he has to fire the bullets. I think Aditya said it well. It's not that PR departments and communication departments don't do the job, but it is the leader, the chairman, the CEO, call him whatever name, he has to take the shots. If he doesn't take the shots, he has no credibility left. Authenticity, agility, adaptability, actions, speak, words come out of that leader. He may get it wrong, that's fine. People will forgive you for the right intentions, but they will never forgive a guy who's hiding behind a chair saying, it's not me, let my corporate communications guy do the talking. People are at the heart of everything. You attributed coming out of the Maggi crisis to me. I was one individual amongst 9,000 employees. It was people who made it happen. The humble salesman, the partner, the distributor, the employee, the factory worker. These are the people who made coming out of the crisis happen. So people are at the center of everything. And in any crisis, if you exclude the people, if you don't have transparency and clarity of communication, you're not going to get very far with the crisis. Adversity builds strength. If there's one lesson that I've learned is never waste a good crisis. Junk out the stuff that you don't need. You won't need it. But you will never realize it because it is corporate plaque. And corporate plaque is more dangerous than having 100 stents put in your heart. Because it keeps accumulating over generations. And that is the time when you have to make the changes. So adversity builds a huge amount of strength. And there again, humility matters. बुरा जो देखन मैं चला, बुरा न मिलिया कोई, जो दिल खोजा अपना मुझसा बुरा न कोई. How many leaders, how many teams set about looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, is this me? Should this be me? And what are you going to, who's going to do it? The leader is going to do it. It starts with the leader and it goes down the line. Again, all good things come to an end. So I had 5 glorious years in Egypt where the company grew by 25% each year for the next 5 years. We invested more in 3 years than we invested in the previous 20 years. We had the best recruitment season at universities. The Nestlé stock in the market, not the share price, but the reputation shot up. And then they posted me to Philippines, calm, placid, lovely country. 4 months on, the phone rang, and there was the Maggi crisis. This was a big one. This was a big one. This is the mother of all crises. The company got associated with Maggi. It was almost like the family name. Ubiquitous, category creating, loved, but failed. And when it fell badly. There was no GST, there was no Russia-Ukraine war, there was no Gaza. Here was this little brand that was little by the national standards, that was getting all the attention, and for the first time in my career, I had a huge ego kick when the Economic Times said, Indian comes to save Swiss company. That's what the people said. But this was an existential crisis, and the biggest element in an existential crisis is how does the leader manage himself? Your biggest strength is you yourself. The guru is within you. Kasturi kundal base brug doonde man mahi, jo ghat ghat ram hai duniya dekhe nahi. The strength is within you, in your navel, and you don't see it. You keep looking outside for it, but actually the aroma is you yourself. So the Maggi crisis, the impact was far more than the 500 crores that got written off my books. 9,000 employees, 400,000 farmers, 6,500 field force, a business that was collapsing faster than you could say the word collapsing. Every business started to collapse. Moral and the composure of employees had to be managed. We are a tenure company. Nestlé is a tenure company. You spend 20, 25, 30, 35 years. I've given out 40-year awards to people. Born to the company, retired from the company. And suddenly you tell them that you're all a bunch of crooks. You're adding lead, you're adding this, and you're adding that. How do you manage it? Authenticity, transparency. Because if there is one thing that the company does well, it is product quality and safety. You may not like my brand, you may not like my branding, you may not like the colors of the brand, you may not like the advertisement. But what you cannot question in Nestlé is the quality and safety of the brands. So we played to our strengths. And really, one of the things that I've observed in any crisis, give man or woman a mission and a purpose, and magic happens. There was magic all across. When the court case was decided in our favor in the Mumbai High Court, we were able to come out with the brand on Dhanteras Day on 2015, thanks to the magic of people. People took personal sacrifices to make it happen. And yes, you talk about corporate culture, which nobody nowadays even gives a damn about. Not a single employee, past or present, not a shareholder, not a stakeholder, not a supplier, not a partner, ever went to the media, to the social media, to anywhere complaining about the company. You think it didn't hurt them? It hurt them. But they stood solidly behind the organization. Culture is a language that is spoken when nobody is noticing. Focus, ladies and gentlemen, as you build your companies on the culture. Because if the culture sucks, you're going to have a dead company very, very soon, even if the market is ecstatic about you. Never lose the winning spirit. I think the most important role of leadership at this time is to be asking the right questions, but not knowing all the answers. Is of being vulnerable and yet supportive. Of never allowing the company to lose the winning spirit. Even if the battle seems lost in your mind, it should never be lost to the people. And when that happens, you win big time. So what did we do in this crisis? We became more innovative. Nestlé has never had a family planning in brands, 2,000 brands globally. So we said, what the hell are we doing in India? Recalibrate the engine, revitalize the engine, re-energize the engine, and come up with at least in the first 12 months, 35 new products, 58 new variants. It's important to fail to succeed because that helps you to succeed. And that rap who takes? The leadership takes. The leader stands up and says, put the bullets at me if there are failures. What do? We pass it on. The marketing director does it, the product manager does it, somebody else does it, right? And therefore, in all difficult moments, it is the leader who takes the call. And what are the 5 key mantras that have worked for me at least? And this is a personal interpretation. You can take it as you choose in your own experience. Keep your eyes on reality, reality, reality. The worst culprit in a crisis is reality. Nobody wants to know the truth. You know, in my life, I've come across 3 kinds of people. The first kind of people are those who say nothing, who do nothing, who eat the biscuit and drink the tea in the meetings and walk away. They are the most harmless fellows. The second ones are the naysayers. Obena, cholbena. They are very useful guys to have in a crisis. And the third ones are the most dangerous. Aap jaisa koi. They are the most dangerous because they keep telling you the reality that is not the truth. It is your job to see the reality. Constantly communicate, not less but more. And what do we do in a crisis? We clam up. Don't say a word. Let legal approve this. Let corporate affairs approve this. Let communications approve this. Don't speak. Don't say a word. Kuch na karo, kuch bhi na kaho. Doesn't work in a crisis. Third, keep to your values, be humble, listen and stay connected. Humility is a huge strength. Why are humble leaders not respected? Simply because they are not loud, they are not brash. But humility gives you two important values. One, it makes you accessible. And number two, it allows you to listen to things. People come and tell you things if you are humble. And if you stay to your values, who lives the values? The leader lives the values. When do organizations corrode? They corrode when leadership corrodes. Companies do not fail by lousy strategies. They fail by lousy leadership. That's the hard truth which we are not willing to face because everybody's paycheck is tied up to it. Teamwork and achievement will drive credibility. It's all about teamwork. It's all about coming together. It's all about being together. That drives credibility. And credibility and trust are the only things that you have in your life. The only things that you have in your life. At the end of the day, as Larry Bossidy said, you will never be remembered for the turnover you generated or the profits you made. You will be only remembered for how you made the other man feel. That's it. That's it. All I expected to be remembered by is how I made my people feel. All my turnover targets and all my achievements will all be history very soon. And finally, crisis is the new normal. Train your people on crisis management, for God's sake. We are not doing enough on that. Our business schools are not doing enough on that. We are teaching them all technical skills, supply chain skills, operational skills, AI skills. We are worried about AI. Yes, you need to be worried about AI, but what about leadership? If you have a bunch of monkeys sitting on an AI project, you're going to get garbage. So leadership development is probably one of the best ways to train people is through leadership. And the best way to expose their leadership is through crisis. So don't create a crisis, but when a crisis happens, get your best guys to respond to it and see what happens. In the end, I would like to close with a quotation from Abraham Lincoln. Reputation is like fine china. Once broken, it's very hard to repair. As Count Leo Tolstoy said in Anna Karenina, the first line, happy families are alike. Unhappy families are unhappy in their own way. Good luck when you have the next crisis. Thank you all very much for your time and attention.